Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, Working Smarter, How AI Will Elevate Marketers. Thanks for joining us. I'm Samantha from Digiday, and I will be your moderator. Today's webinar is sponsored by IBM Watson Marketing, and we're joined today by Michael Trapani, Global Product Marketing Leader for IBM Watson Marketing. Let's quickly go over the agenda. Today we'll be talking about the specific ways in which AI-powered marketing can benefit your team, how AI can best fit into your organization, and the roadmap to onboarding AI, training, team introductions, and more. For everyone tuning into this webinar, we can guess why you're probably here. Marketing teams are overtasked and overwhelmed, dealing with the stress that comes with moving production in-house, a choice that is rising in popularity. But fortunately, you don't have to deal with this fatigue alone. From data processing to analyzing customer journeys, AI-powered marketing can assist marketers in countless ways, relieving pressure and lightening their load of demanding day-to-day tasks. A question and answer live tweet period will follow the presentation, so please stay with us until the end. Feel free to tweet questions for Michael at any time using the hashtag #WorkingSmarter. Everyone who registered for today's webinar will also receive an email with a recording of the session tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. So Michael, just to kick things off, I want to pose a simple question. What exactly is AI-powered marketing? We're all aware of what AI is as a concept, but what does AI really mean for the modern workplace?
That's a really great question, and I tend to break down AI-powered marketing into two categories. The first is around how AI can help enhance the customer experience. And I think that's where a lot of the conversations around AI in marketing are happening today. How AI can help personalize without using as much personal data, things like that. Computing oceans of data and actually boiling them down into specific types of personalization. So there's some really exciting stuff around the customer experience. The second category, though, is I think what I'm a little more interested in, and that's not the customer experience, but the marketer experience. How can AI help marketers do their jobs better? And I think one of the things every marketer has noticed over the last 10 or so years is that with the advent of the digital age and being able to track and understand customer behavior through the use of data, there have been a lot more routine, mindless tasks that a marketer is now supposed to take on. Things like running reports, running queries, and really that takes up a lot of time in the day, and it doesn't allow the marketer to do the things that they really want to do, like come up with creative ideas and design some exciting new campaigns. So where we see AI coming in, and specifically AI-powered marketing, is how it can reduce the amount of those mundane, mindless tasks that a marketer is forced to do and allow them to really give them time back out of their day. So it's really enhancing their experience as a marketer versus overtaking their jobs. There's just too many things that a marketing person as a human needs to do themselves.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Can you give me some examples of AI in real-life supportive roles?
Yeah, absolutely. So where we tend to see AI assist the marketer the most is really ingesting that amount of data that a marketer has. So you have data coming in from maybe 20 different marketing channels, from WeChat to Facebook to Snapchat to WhatsApp to mobile app to mobile. I mean, there is just too much data coming in. And you have all these tools that are managing each one of those channels. Maybe you have a few of them collected into one, but you really can't make sense of all of it on its own. And these things aren't really connected that well. And then finally, the ability to understand the customer journey by making sense and use of that data. So not only does it help you understand the customer journey, but it also helps you create better customer journeys in the future. So we see it a lot with analytics. We see it a lot with simplifying a lot of data into real actionable insights, and allowing them to create kind of customer-centric marketing engagements and campaigns.
Yeah, that sounds super useful. Are people surprised, do you think, in general, that AI can handle that kind of stuff?
I think everyone's learning, right? I think even the folks at IBM who have been working on AI for over a decade, I think everyone is really getting a sense of what this technology really is. And I always use this example of software in the 1960s, right? I think the idea of back then a machine, a computer, was really a single function input, right? So you would design a computer to do something, you'd program it to do that thing, and then if you wanted it to do something else, you would reprogram it to do that thing. And it wasn't until we had software when we were able to really automatically reprogram these computers on the fly with just a few simple inputs. And that's kind of the level that we're at with artificial intelligence today. So, as exciting as the capabilities are, and we're going to get into those in just a second, as exciting as they are today, it's really just the beginning.
Yeah, totally. How do you feel, I guess, that AI-powered marketing can help marketers work smarter? To you personally, what does that look like?
Yeah, so I'm one of those people who sees a giant spreadsheet and just counts the amount of hours in my day that I'm about to lose. So I think to me, the biggest thing is saving me time so that I can work more with my team and really be the collaborative marketer that the current discipline of marketing really requires. You need to work across all of these teams. And I know this is a very marketing speak word, but we need to break down the different silos that exist within these organizations. And we're never going to do that if we are buried in tasks, or if a few poor marketers, analysts on our team are buried in those data sets. And this is just a much more simplified way for the line of business user, your average campaign manager, your average marketing analyst, to use AI without really pulling in an analyst or a data scientist in order to make sense of all that data. It just works.
So I guess, can you speak a little bit about how a human touch kind of helps tie the bow atop customer-centric campaigns that AI can help generate?
Great. I'll answer that with an example. One of the things that I think is a really interesting use case for AI is when you start to see AI enter spaces around creativity. And that's something I think a lot of humans never anticipated computers being able to do. And one example that I'll use is if you look at, I forgot the title of the movie myself, but there was a director who was making a film about artificial intelligence. It wasn't Ex Machina, that was really good, but it was a different movie about AI. And he wanted to use AI in order to create the trailer for the movie. And he knew that the film was going to be, very high, very intense, very something that there's a lot of thrilling elements to the movie. And so he wanted to create a trailer that resembled that. And so he used an AI engine to watch the movie and pick up on cues that indicate that this is a part of a movie that's very thrilling and intense, and it should be used in the trailer. The AI engine picked out those elements and sent them to the director, kind of without the director having to watch the movie and go through that, or someone an editor having to go through all that. Gave it to the director, but it was still up to the director and the editor to piece those things together in a cohesive narrative that actually made sense, that one scene of the trailer flowed into the other. So that, if you think about what the director wanted to do. The director doesn't want to sit down and watch a movie that he knows back and forth so he can build a trailer, but he can save that time of watching the movie and selecting the scenes so that he can, work better. It's kind of like the difference between an artist working with buckets of paint on the floor or having a palette that he can just use and paint right within what's already in his hand.
Yeah, that's a really great example, I think, especially shows that kind of collaborative nature. Can you speak a little more, I guess, on how AI-powered marketing can differentiate between structured and unstructured data?
Yeah, it's fascinating when you look at the capabilities that exist today. I mean, I think one of the great examples that I'll share around actually marketing and how this helps marketers is Georgia Aquarium. Georgia Aquarium is a staple in the Atlanta tourism district, and one of the things they wanted to do is really get a sense of how their marketing messages were driving churn and behavior. You can wait for a customer to unsubscribe to your emails before you realize your emails aren't working, or you can use AI to predict that churn before it happens. And so what they did was they took their, an anonymized version of their customer database, and they loaded it into an AI engine, in this case a Watson marketing engine, and they used that data and the AI to determine which behaviors that customer is making that means they're about to abandon you as a brand. So if they haven't opened a message in a certain amount of time, or they haven't visited your website, or they open but they don't take any action, all this information is indicative of churn. And through these insights, they were actually able to improve their open rates, are up by 70%, and online purchases are up as well.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I know that Cafe Nero also implemented AI into their marketing tactics. Can you walk us through that a bit?
Sure. Cafe Nero is a great brand in Europe for coffee shops. They're actually entering the U.S. market as well. And they really believe strongly in this cafe feel, right? They really care about, not the transactional coffee shop that we see a lot here in the States today, but that sense of community that you get from walking into a coffee shop, sitting down, enjoying your coffee, even if it's on the go. So they really wanted to improve the way that their loyalty program, that environment, that community that they receive as a customer, is actually enjoyed. And so they used a marketing automation tool built into Watson Marketing to create more personalized messages and to use some of that customer data in their message to improve lift and make it more relevant to that customer. And actually, they saw a pretty incredible uplift as well. I think their email open rates were up to 70%, and the purchases that were made online were up. And I don't know about you, but 70% open rates is a little ridiculous. It's almost too good to be true, but it was a really fantastic use case, and they're a fantastic company.
So can we take a look at those campaign metric tracking skills in action?
Yeah, sure. So we can ask Watson some simple questions like, how are my campaigns doing? And here you'll see an analysis that Watson pulls together of all of our campaigns in aggregate. I can ask some follow-up questions like, how does this campaign compare to last year's campaign? I can also ask questions like, what's the correlation between sent time and open rate of my emails? And another thing you can do is if you don't know the exact name of a campaign that you're looking for, this happens to me a lot where I say, hey, I know it's about this, but I forgot the exact name I gave it, and I don't have time to search for it. You can just say things like, show me a campaign with a particular word in its name.
I know that AI has a lot of really advanced capabilities that sort of fall into like a secondary skills type of category. And I know that one of the more interesting capabilities is the ability to detect something called customer struggle. So I was wondering if you could speak on exactly what that is and why it's so crucial for customer-centric marketing.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know about you, but there are moments when I am browsing. Maybe it's on a mobile website that isn't optimized for mobile, or it's you're tapping on a button on a website and it's not working, or you have a promo code that is not giving you the discount that you thought you should get. Those are all moments of struggle. And when you're in an experience and you're on a website or you're in an app and you're trying to do something, maybe you're tapping on a device or you're rotating that screen between portrait and landscape so that you can actually see the thing that you're trying to see. All of those behaviors, all of those actions can be understood by an AI engine to say that this customer's struggling. There's something wrong here with this experience. The AI can then raise its hand to the marketer and say, hey, there's a moment of struggle here. You need to check this out. And it can actually show you the replay of that session and prioritize those sessions that have multiple moments of struggle. This way you don't have to wait for your revenue to decline before you realize that there's a real problem there.
I know it seems like ING used a lot of those type of capabilities in their marketing. Can you speak a bit on how AI was able to help in that way?
Sure. They did a pretty interesting example around making and really increasing their time to deployment of campaigns. They had a great campaign team, but the tools they were working with really slowed down their process. There were a lot of approvals they needed, a lot of things like that. And their ability to understand their customer journey better, as well as using more tools to help them streamline that process, actually increased their acquisition rate by 120%. And it allowed them to increase their velocity from creating a marketing campaign from 6 days to just 3. So they're able to deploy in a much faster way, and it was just a great way of marketers using more advanced tools and easier tools, honestly, to get their work done.
I know some other interesting secondary skills can also include things like translation and sentiment analysis. How are these auxiliary skills useful to today's marketer?
That's where I think we get into some really interesting and use cases that show a ton of potential. So AI is designed to understand not just the behavior of data, but really human behavior. and natural language. So a lot of the AI assistants that a lot of us use today use natural language processing. But what I think a lot of them are lacking is a sentiment analysis. Yeah, I know that you're saying, I'm doing great today, but if you say, I'm doing great today versus I'm doing great today, right? Those are two very different things. And being able to understand the sentiment of what you're saying is really important. Even the specific words that you use can tell a very different story. And so what Watson is capable of doing, and specifically for Watson marketing, is you can understand the sentiment or the tone of particular words that you use. And this is valuable when you're, say, writing an email copy or you're designing an SMS message that you want to send to your customers, and you want it to behave or give an impression that is very specific. Let's say you want to be very joyful in your message, or you want to even have a negative type of score if you are sending a message about maybe a delay in a shipping notification or something like that. Watson can actually determine those actual tones of particular words that are used as they are assembled in a sentence. So as a marketer, sure, you probably have copywriters, or maybe you are yourself the copywriter, and you want to be able to bounce ideas off of another copywriter or another writer about how this might make our customers feel. You can just bounce those ideas off Watson, and that's something that a lot of AI engines are starting to pick up on, so that you can say, how is this, what's the sentiment score of this particular subject line of an email? And Watson will give you a score, whether it's particularly happy or particularly urgent, things like that.
Oh, that's super useful. Do you think that IBM Watson actually could show us those sentiment analysis skills in action?
Sure. So here in the Watson Assistant, I can ask questions like, what's the tone of the subject line for this email? And here I see Watson giving me a full sentiment score of the actual words that are used within the subject line.
So what are some of the most innovative ways that you've seen marketers leverage these abilities?
I think the best examples are the ones where they it's honestly not even in the AI itself. It's using the artificial intelligence to remove some of these daily functional tasks. And where I get really excited is where I see the types of work that marketers are doing as a result of not having to do all this data analysis on their own. The way I think about it, and I go back to that software example, is in the same way that we use software to help us do our jobs, like create an automated marketing program, right? If we're building a campaign that has multiple steps that are made when a certain action takes place, all that stuff is automated with software. In the same way, we think that a lot of these analysis tasks are going to be automated by artificial intelligence, and a lot of them are done today. And so the examples that I see are really all of the fresh, exciting campaigns and the really interesting messages that I'm hearing about brands from companies that are, now have all this free time to do something creative and to try something different.
Okay, talk us through the onboarding process. How do you best introduce AI to your team?
Well, that's where I think one of the biggest misconceptions about AI comes in. And I think when a lot of people think about traditional AI, they think about training the AI engine. And that's true. Lots of artificial intelligence engines, in fact, all of the ones out there need to be trained in the same way that you'd bring on a new person working on your team. You have to train it from everything from human language to working in the particular discipline that you're training for. One of the things that we've done specifically around Watson marketing is we've done a lot of that training for you. We have pre-trained Watson on the profession of marketing. So unlike most AI that you need to onboard into an organization, maybe you need a team of analysts or a data scientist to help train that AI. We've done all of that, and we've instead built it into the software that you use on a regular basis. So it's built into our marketing automation tools. It's built into our customer analytics tools. It's built into our content management tools, our personalization tools, so that all you really need to do is use the tools, and the AI is embedded within them to help you automate those tasks, to help you personalize better, to help do all those things that we talked about. So I think when it comes to onboarding, there are some really interesting things a marketer can still do. One of the things that I think we all notice when we start a new company is, everyone has their own terms, right? Some companies use the word campaign, some companies use the word mailing, some companies use the word drop. If you're in Europe, there are different terms, and so one of the things that I really like about Watson is that you can teach it the terms that are specific to your company. So if you say the word campaign or if you say the word drop and Watson says, I'm not sure what that means, you can say, when I say drop, I mean campaign. And from then on, Watson will remember that those two words mean the same thing, and you'll have a lot of those. Maybe you have some acronyms in your organization that you use. Things like that is where it comes to onboarding.
Great. Do you have any final thoughts or insights before we get started in our Q&A portion?
Sure. I mean, I think if there's one thing that we can all take away from today, it's that AI is certainly not a replacement for marketers, and that's something that I think a lot of folks are worried about when it comes to using artificial intelligence. So there are just too many things that a marketer needs to do that a marketer will always need to do. And when it comes to things that marketers don't want to do, that's where the AI can come in the same way that you don't want to be on call every time a customer opens an email so that you can send them another email, and you use software to do that. That's what AI is here to help do. The last piece that I'll say is that AI is easy. It's something that is already available, and it's real. It's something that marketers are already using today. Those examples that I shared earlier, marketers are already using these today so that we can work smarter and have a better marketer experience overall. It's not something that you need a full data science team in order to stand up in your organization. It's just something that works. So I'd say those two things are really big takeaways.
That's all the time we have for today. Thanks again to Michael and our partner IBM Watson Marketing. And thank you all for joining us today. Remember, our Q&A live tweet portion is beginning now on Twitter. Please tweet your questions for Michael using the hashtag #WorkingSmarter. We hope you learned something. Keep an eye in your inboxes tomorrow for a link to the recording, which you can watch on demand. Thanks again, and please enjoy the rest of your day.